Slovenia won all 3 Grand Tours this year.
That's crazy. Crazy to think about.
The cycling powerhouse country of Slovenia won all 3 Grand Tours.
2.5 million population or something, and they win all 3. I mean, obviously, Primož and Tadej are, 2 of the 3-4 best riders in the world. But yeah, I mean, that's incredible.
Well, bienvenidos, everyone. Welcome back. You see what I did there, guys? Both you guys speak Spanish. You see what I did there? Bienvenidos. Yeah. For those who don't speak Spanish, that means welcome. Welcome back to the Move podcast. Talking about the Tour of Spain, not just week 3. We'll recap the whole thing, all 3 weeks. Of course, I'm joined. I don't know where you are, Johan. I suspect you're back in Madrid.
I'm back in Madrid. Yeah, I'm back in Madrid. Yeah,
back from Mallorca.
Back from Mallorca, exactly.
Yeah. And G, looks like you're there at the office in Greenville.
Yep, back in Greenville. Got back Sunday night.
Oh, how was Bentonville? I want to hear about that.
Yeah. It was great. 2-day event. The whole town turned up and was super happy about how everything went. I mean, obviously they're really well known for their gravel and mountain biking, but they wanted to showcase all the great road riding there, and it was just super fun. 2 courses, 83 miles each, and really fast, flowy. We did them in both days. We did 80 miles or just over 80 miles in 3.5 hours. So it was fun, fast and scenic. People were really happy about it.
I'm curious, were people psyched to have a 2-day situation? I mean, normally, as we all know, typically you go in and it's a 1-day thing, and you just don't see a lot of multi-day or.
Yeah, I mean the feedback we got and all the visit Bentonville, and the people that are our friends that have a lot of influence in Bentonville wanted a 2-day sort of cycling weekend focused on road. And you've been to our fundos. It's not only about the rides, it's about the expo and the family friendly start and finish areas that we have, where we have jumpy castles, free food for everybody that's there watching their significant others riding. So they wanted it to be a whole weekend celebration of cycling and showcasing their roads. And of course, I was a little bit hesitant with a 2-day event, but ended up being really fun and enjoyable for everybody.
And just a small update, Enzo, I mean, just absolutely clobbered you, I'm assuming.
He was doing the junior race, which is 50. We had a junior race inside of the Grand Fondo, so he only did the 50 mile. But yes, he could have totally clobbered me if he wanted to.
Oh yeah. So it's over. It's over.
Yeah.
We'll get into all the action. So much to cover. Of course, the big question marks, which we talked about last week. Ben O'Connor, could he hold on? We'll get into all that, and just in history too. There was some history made and other things that stand out to the 3 of us. But before we do, today's show brought to you by Zwift. So Zwift just released the Zwift Ride, an all-new smart bike that is changing the indoor game and making it easier and more affordable than ever before to get started riding indoors. Now, many of you know that I was not a big fan of riding indoors. I like to call myself an outdoor kitty. But Zwift has changed that for me, and hopefully with Zwift Ride, they can change that for you. We're approaching September. We're in September, approaching the fall. It's going to get cold. A lot of you people living in places where you just can't ride outside. Now you got the Zwift Ride. The bike is ultra quiet, super easy to set up. All you need is one tool, and that's called the frame key. Builds it all, adjusts it all, and it clicks right back with this really cool magnet, clicks right back into the frame. And you can make all your adjustments, and you never lose it. The adjustability makes Zwift Ride perfect for anyone in the house to use. And at $1299.99, it's a game changer. So head on over to Zwift.com now to check it out. That's Zwift.com. Check it out. Also today brought to you by Element. You hear us talk about it all the time. Despite what I just said, entering fall, temps are changing. Down in Austin, they ain't changing. It's still in the 90s. By the way, that's a bit of a reprieve from 105. But this old dog is still out there pedaling and sweating and needing to be replenished. So my go-to is Element, 1,000 milligrams of sodium, 200 milligrams of potassium, 60 milligrams of magnesium, No sugar, no gluten, no artificial ingredients, no BS. It is the real deal. And best of all, if you don't like it, give it to a friend. An Element will refund you. So here's the deal. You get the Element sample pack. It includes 1 packet of every flavor, including citrus, raspberry, orange, unflavored, watermelon, grapefruit, mango, chile, and chocolate. Taco. How do you say chocolate in Spanish? I just spaced it. Chocolate is
Chocolate.
Chocolate. Oh, también chocolate. We're talking about the Tour of Spain. So this is perfect. You can try out all the different flavors, dial in which one you like, and then go from there. Get your free 8-count sample pack with any Element purchase at drinklmnt.com/themove. That's drinklmnt.com/themove. And also be sure to try out the new Element Sparkling, a bold 16-ounce can of sparkling electrolyte water. What did they say this summer? Enjoy salty revolution. All right, let's talk about Tour of Spain. Hey, Primož Roglič ties history, wins his 4th Vuelta. Pretty exciting. Of course, we had a teammate do it back in the day. I guess there was really no doubt, right, Johan? I mean, he look, the guy's still a damn good bike rider. By the way, he had the time trial at the end that he always could have fell back on. Yeah. And you had a race with which I think you said in week 1, what did you tell us? Something absurd, like 60,000 meters of total vert. Like there's enough of that I know it set it up nicely for TV, so to speak, but he rode a great race and he had a great team.
Yeah. And also, I mean, with all due respect, the competition is obviously not the same as the Tour de France, right? I mean, Ben O'Connor is second and Rick Mas third. But I think the biggest doubt was at the beginning of the Vuelta, how he had recovered from his crash. I mean, the reports were that he had several fractured vertebrae. And he was doubtful also, especially the first mountain stages. But I think once he won that first uphill finish, there was no doubt anymore that he was going to be the big favorite. And the only doubt was, can he make up those 6 minutes with Ben O'Connor, right? And turned out that ultimately he wins the Vuelta with 2.5 minutes. So, yeah, I mean, unbelievable.
Yeah, Johan, also, I think a really pivotal step for the team. I mean, obviously they won the Giro with Jai Hindley a couple of years ago, and now they were in a different role this time with Primož being sort of the favorites. And it was, although an unconventional approach to winning the overall Vuelta, we all kind of questioned it for a while. They ended up pulling it off. And, I think gaining a lot of confidence in not only Primož, but the whole squad and the management team, which will make it interesting coming into next season, because obviously, they all want to win the big show, which is the Tour de France. And looks like they may or not be making some moves in the off season, but I think a really successful Vuelta is putting them into the off season with a lot of confidence.
Yeah, I think that team is on its way. I mean, it's almost there, but it's on its way to become the number 1 team. I mean, with the introduction of Red Bull and a lot of extra resources, it's clear what they're doing. They want to be the number 1. Primož, in my opinion, is now a stepping stone, because let's not forget he's 34 years old, so he's in the end of his career, and they're using his presence in the team to basically evolve from. Obviously, Primož brings some knowledge. He also brought his trainer from Visma, by the way. So, but they keep moving. They keep moving forward, and I think that their ambition is to be the number 1, the dominant team in the future, and they're well on their way.
And you mentioned he's getting up in age, but he also did apparently have one of his best climbing performances ever in the 3rd week of the Tour of Spain. Sorry. Which is a really positive sign that, perhaps he's not reached his full potential yet. And I'm sure there's still some hope that he can stay safe in next year's Tour de France and, perhaps be at least as good as he was in the Vuelta this year.
Yeah.
Yeah. But by the way, worth noting, Slovenia won all 3 Grand Tours this year.
That's crazy. Crazy to think about.
The cycling powerhouse country of Slovenia won all 3 Grand Tours.
2.5 million population or something, and they win all 3. I mean, obviously, Primož and Tadej are 2 of the 4 best riders in the world. But yeah, I mean that's incredible. And there's more Slovenian riders that are really good.
Yeah, I mean, we talked about that a lot. I mean, I think that elevates, when you're, especially maybe even more so when you're in a small country, because those guys are probably in the paper every day. I mean, they sneeze and they're in the, I'm supposing or imagining they're in the Slovenian paper for everything. So that, guys see that and they want a little piece of that. That's normal. But, you'd have to go back quite a ways to find a year where one country won. I mean, maybe it's not that far, but where one country won all 3 Grand Tours, it's, it's not, and not to mention a country of 2.5 million people. It just makes it that much more unique and exceptional.
Yeah, for sure. But anyway, coming back on Primož, he's, I admire his ability to come back after being knocked down. It's unbelievable how he focuses. And George, you said, he had his best performance, one of his best performances. I think it's the trend. I mean, if you speak to people within the peloton and you look around, I mean, everybody has their best performances ever, all the time. It keeps improving, improving. So yeah, but obviously, listen, I think he did almost 6.9 watts per kilo for 25 minutes. On stage 18, I think, or stage 19, when he basically decided the Vuelta. There's not many people who can do better. It's Jonas and Tadej and maybe Remco in the future, but he's up there, he's up there with those guys. So nobody should be surprised that he wins. He had an amazingly strong team, especially in the latter part of the race with Dani Martinez and Vlasov, who, by the way, would be leaders on any other team. Let's not forget Dani Martinez was second in the Giro behind Pogačar. He was the domestique here, and then Vlasov did an amazing job a lot of times. So yeah, he was well supported. Few tactical mistakes, I think, especially that stage when they left O'Connor. Take so much time, but after all, 2.5 minutes, there's no doubt that he was the strongest.
All right. Hey, speaking of countries that had a good Tour of Spain, got to talk about Australia. Green jersey, polka dot jersey. A good day, a good month for the Aussies, mate.
4 stage wins.
4 stage wins. Right.
Yeah.
And talking about, we spent a little time on this in the pre-show, but talking about folks that had a good month. I mean, we got to talk about a team with less than a $5 million budget winning 3 stages. Pretty exceptional in Kern Pharma.
Yeah, I just checked actually that it's $4 million the budget.
Wow.
One of the teams that got an invite, in Spain, there's 4 continental teams, and they switch every year. Last year was Burgos, Burgos and Caja Rural. This year it was Kern Pharma and Euskaltel. But man, this team was on a roll. Pablo Castrillo won a stage, very spectacular. Then he won a second one, which was even more impressive. Yep. And then finally, that I don't remember which stage it was. Was it stage 18 or 9? No, or 17? Urco Berrade, somebody that probably you guys you never know. He's 26 years old.
If you were going to ask us or say that we probably never heard of him, you are exactly right.
I know. That's why I'm not asking. But anyway, it's a team that is apparently they have the resources to grow. Kern Pharma is a huge company in Spain. They make almost all the generic medicine here for the pharmacies. And
they even make the drink mixes for the riders. They came up with a special formulation with a certain amount of carbs that they tested throughout the whole season.
Yeah.
And with feedback from the riders, so flavors, the exact amount of carbs. So it's kind of interesting that they've
George, because you trained with one of the guys in Girona, right?
Danny Van Der Took. He's coming to Greenville for my Fundo. So I got a little bit of inside scoop before I actually knew how well they're going to do in the Vuelta. But Amazing. Johan, talk about how can they leave them out of the Vuelta next year? If you said there's a rotation on picking teams, how do you leave this team out?
Yeah, I'm going to predict that they're just going to change the rules and increase the number of participants instead of 22, 23. I mean, they can't leave Ken Pharma out next year, in my opinion. So yeah, I mean, if you look at this team, 3 stage wins. This one particular stage actually was impressive. Was it the one? I think it was stage 20 actually. It was stage 20, the one that the second stage win of another guy who had an amazing Vuelta was the Irish guy. What's his name? Eddie Dunbar. Dunbar, 2 stages. He won that stage, but initially there was a breakaway of 40 riders, 40 riders with 3 Ken Pharma. Then finally in the hard part of the stage, it breaks to 10 riders. And those 3 Ken Pharma are in those 10. And they're still, they still did amazing. So 4 million. Then on the other hand, I think something we should also highlight, not a positive note, this Team Ineos. Reportedly a $50 million or pound budget. No stage wins. First rider, 10th place, Carlos Rodriguez, and never a factor in the race. So, I've looked a bit at that team, and actually I was walking around yesterday. I went to the start of the time trial 2 days ago at the Sunday morning at the start of the time trial in Madrid here. And,
whose dog is barking?
It's mine. Boomer! Hang on.
I was just curious. I was like, George, is it like bring the dog to work day?
Should we edit this or should we go on?
No dogs here.
No, we can go on. Maybe it would be great if the dog stopped barking.
Hang on. Let me let him in. Hang on a second.
Let him in. Oh my God, the dog is outside.
I wonder he's barking.
Folks, this is it. This is how chill it is.
They're in.
Okay. Excellent. Thank you. So sorry, go back to what you're saying.
Yeah. No, I mean, and you walk around and you see, obviously it's a time trial. The last day, they had nothing to defend anymore, but the bus and the truck of Ineos, it's empty. Nobody there. Nobody was there. And, you see, I think it's like, I don't know what's happening in that team. There's changes. It seems to me like since Brailsford left that program, the soul of that team is gone. And I just checked, the roster. They have like 15 sport directors. I mean, who's in charge there? To me, it seems like there's a lot of people who are running around, but nobody's really in charge. And listen, it's not a, I think one stage win or maximum. One stage win in the Giro. I think I don't remember if they won a stage in the Tour or not. Can't really off the top of my head. Probably one. I don't remember now. But this is not good. So I expect that Ineos is going to have a massive overhaul. People are leaving. We just saw recently also, for example, one of the guys, this guy Dan Bingham, this aerodynamics engineer who's an amazing rider also, who broke the world record.
Right. I had the R record. Yep.
Yeah. So he's leaving to guess where? Red Bull-Bora. So if these guys are leaving, Rod Ellingworth, for example, who came back to run the team, which was basically an attempt to get it back to where it was before. He's there for 1 or 2 years. He's leaving again. He's returning to become the performance manager of Bahrain Victoria. So those things are not good. So I think we're going to see some changes in that team.
Look, you have a we talked in the pre-show about Tom Pidcock, who's a fantastic rider. We're huge fans, and he can do it all. Right? He makes £4 million a year. And then we're talking about Kern Pharma that just, was this beautiful underdog story of the Tour of Spain when winning 3 stages. The entire team's budget is €4 million.
Yeah.
If their hand is no longer on the fire alarm, everybody's pulling it. This is a 12 alarm fire. I mean,
this is now they're now in a situation where before they were the reference team, the benchmark. Nowadays, I mean, obviously, certain riders would have doubts to go to that team, whereas before they would have jumped to go to that team. It's come to that side. So,
well, I think it's also a matter of all this information, all these studies and marginal gains that they kind of came out with is just really easable, accessible information for anybody now. Even juniors are, weighing their food and know exactly what kind of calorie intake they need. So they got to sort of reinvent the game with that kind of money. They certainly can do that. And like you said, Johan, it seems like there's a lot of cooks in the kitchen right now, and they might need to streamline that to get back to their level.
I think there's not one single captain on the ship. That's the problem. Obviously, the captain is Sir Jim Ratcliffe, but he's not too closely involved with the team. And I think since Brailsford left, it's a different game there. So they have to find somebody else, because I don't think Brailsford is going to go back there. He's in a different position now in soccer. But yeah, sad to see, actually.
It is. Let's keep talking about this stuff before we do a little bit of business. Today's show also brought to you by Ketone IQ. We often hear that fasting and exercise are good for the brain. HVMN launched the world's first drinkable ketone in 2017. Ketone IQ is their latest innovation on ketones with better effectiveness, taste, and cost. Ketone IQ delivers clean fuel that can cross the blood-brain barrier, supplying your brain and body sustained energy, focus, and sharpness. Ketone IQ also has a partnership with Visma. Lisa Bike doing a ton of research with that team and the riders, looking at sort of during the race usage, post-race usage, stuff that maybe folks didn't think about in the beginning. 30% off your first subscription order, plus a free 6-pack when you use the link ketone.com/themove. That's ketone.com/themove. Also today, last one here, brought to you by Ventum. By the way, guys, I'm back in Aspen. I told you guys we were talking about where y'all are. I'm back in Aspen, living my best life. It's nice. It's not many people here, but moral of that story is I brought my GS1 up here. I love this thing. Like when I travel, I just take my GS1. It's the best. As you all know, too. By the way, thanks for supporting me on that. We've had every week. We've had the Ventum trivia. Right. The question for week 2, 5 cyclists have won all 3 of the major Grand Tours in their careers. Can you name at least 3 of the 5 riders? Here's your answer. Of course, this is too late to enter this one, but here's your answer. Jack Anquetil, Felice Gimondi, Eddie Merckx, Bernard Hinault, and we'll leave the 5th one out. No, I'm kidding. Contador is the 5th one. Here's the question.
There's more.
Okay. Anyways, all you had to do was pick 3. And
Chris Froome and Vincenzo Nibali would also be valid answers.
Okay. Like I said, that was week 2's question, so you've already submitted those. Yeah. But thank you, Johan. Here's the question for the 3rd and final week. What is the smallest margin of victory in the GC at the Vuelta? And extra credit if you can name the rider and the year that it happened. Smallest margin of victory in the overall GC from the Vuelta, right? So send that in to ventumracing.com/themove. And while you're over there, just kind of cruise around. They do have the new GS1 that's more stable and smooth over rough and technical roads, thanks to longer reach. Maybe that's why I like it. As you get older, that longer reach, and you just, I do. I think it's just way more comfortable.
Do you leave the gravel tires on it when you're out on the road?
I do. Yep. Like yesterday, I did a corporate ride here, and I wasn't too worried about the performance, so I leave my gravel tires on. It rolls. By the way, these gravel tires, they roll amazing.
Dia was with us in Bentonville, and he rode both days, and now he's actually just flew to Aspen, so you might run into him.
Yeah, he emailed me. And I wrote him back, and so Dia, if you're listening, I said, hey, man, hit me up. And I haven't heard, but that's okay. He's a busy, he's fancy. I'm no longer fancy. Dia is. Speaking of fancy but not fancy, they've got the SRAM Apex AXS GS1 that's with the minted colorway. So full electronic SRAM apex shifting, same full carbon frame found on the highest end GS ones. Check out this price, $29.99. Listeners of The Move can save 20% off any Venom bike through September by using the code THEMOVE20, THEMOVE20 at checkout. And again, all you got to do is go to ventumracing.com/TheMove. All right. Other highlights and lowlights. What else?
I think we got to talk about Marc Soler. I mean, the guy made, I think, essentially every breakaway in the last week or 10 days. And he kind of reminded me of a certain rider, Hesjedal, with it. And I'll never forget, Sean Yates went up to Ryder one time at training camp. He's like, man, are you okay? And Ryder's like, yeah, why? What's up? He's like, because your pedal stroke looks like, every pedal stroke you take looks like your last pedal stroke. You know, like moving all over the bike. Looks like he's getting dropped. And I feel like Marc Soler's got that similar style where he's all over the bike. You don't know if he's getting dropped or he's sort of rope-a-dope in his breakaway companions. Came close on many days, but then to pull off the Queen stage, or I think the Queen stage of the most iconic climb, Lagos de Covadonga, win that stage was super impressive. And then kept going in breakaways, helping his teammate with the mountain jersey. But I think we definitely had to point out his performance in the last week of the Vuelta.
Yeah. Also, Jay Vine, I think amazing comeback. Mm-hmm. You know, let's not forget he and Stef Kras, for a Belgian rider from Total Energies, were the two biggest victims of that horrible crash in the Tour of the Basque Country. Jay Vine was really severely injured. There were certain doubts that if he would ever be able to walk again. This is in April of this year. You know, now he wins the King of the Mountains in the Vuelta, almost won a stage. So obviously, great to see him back. As you said, Lance, the Australians had an amazing, 3-stage win for Caden Groves plus the green jersey. Stage win for O'Connor, second in GC, and then 2 stage wins for the Australian team, Jayco Alula. So amazing performance of the Australians in this Vuelta. And I think what we have to also talk about is the unfortunate abandon of Wout van Aert after yet another crash, when he was on his way to basically win green and the polka dot jersey, which would have been very unique. Unfortunately, he crashed, had a very severe injury on his knee. I mean, it's going to be okay, but the wound was too deep. He couldn't move his leg anymore, and his season is over, unfortunately. I think the Wout van Aert we saw in the Vuelta would probably have been European champion. And was also working towards the World Championships, actually. So that's a bummer for the Belgian team, but we wish him all the best. You know, luckily he's going to be okay for next year.
Less stress for Remco.
Think about his season. I mean, the crash he had in Belgium in the beginning of the year pretty much took him out for the rest of the season and got back for the latter part of the season. Very successful Vuelta, 3 stages. Like you said, Johan, green jersey, mountain jersey, was going to win it all. And then to end it like that, I mean, mentally, it's got to be really tough. But fortunately, it is the last race of the year for him. And hopefully he can put that behind him and have the whole team had a disastrous season in terms of injuries and wrecks and illnesses. So it's going to hopefully they bounce back for next season.
I think we've covered it, everything. I mean, just one more mention, Enric Mas, the 4th time in his career, he's on the podium of the Vuelta. You know, Enric Mas is a rider. He gets criticized a lot. And also here in Spain, you know, he gets criticized a lot. But I think he's actually an amazing rider. You know, he's strong. He's not with the top guys. So he's not able to follow those guys. But, you know, he's been 3 times second in the Vuelta. Now he's 3rd. I mean, there's not many riders who can do that.
He seems awfully tough. I mean, he'll have a day or lose some time, and you just sort of write him off, and then the next day he's up there, or you'll see another day where he's just swinging in the back. But he seems to have some grit, which you can't help but love.
No, he's a tough rider. Very. I mean, I feel when I see all the criticism he receives here in Spain. You know, he does what he can. You know, he knows that attacking is obviously not his best weapon, and he's not going to gain anything. So he tries to follow the best guys as long as he can, and that's ultimately how he gets on the podium of a Grand Tour.
And you mentioned, Johan, the competition was clearly not the same as the Tour de France, but the level was still high. I mean, the numbers were still high. A guy like Sepp Kuss said he was actually feeling really good on a lot of his climbs, but the numbers they were putting out on the climbs were really, really impressive. And so I think the performances were, albeit less competition, they were still comparable to a lot of the best rides this season.
For sure. Yeah. Well, I mean, don't the circumstances dictate that? I mean, if you give a guy like Ben O'Connor, you give him 5 minutes, he's not a panic cooker. So you're gonna have to Primož Roglič at some point is gonna have to ride as fast as he possibly can, right? So that, as we said when O'Connor got away, I mean, this shapes up and makes the race exciting. So
yeah, for sure. If you have like you mentioned, Lance, he's got to ride as fast as he possibly can, which means his teammates have to ride just as fast at the bottom of these slopes, which is going to ultimately make faster climbs and better performances. That was the only way he can win it. And like you said, that's a big reason behind those high performance numbers.
And the fueling. I mean, we keep right. That's what Bobby told us during the tour. It's when you think about fueling, yes, you get to the end of a stage and your fuel tank is on F as opposed to being a quarter full. But as the race progresses, especially Grand Tour, you start to, if you have multiple days of never having to, your tank never going below half empty, you just get stronger and stronger.
Yeah.
Pretty amazing.
That's the new cycling for sure.
I'm glad we're gone, man. I'm glad we're gone. The thought of consuming that many calories on the bike is just.
Also, what impressed me Sunday, at the start of I went through the buses there and the guys were warming up. The body composition of the professional cyclist has changed so much. I mean, it's like, okay, you see them on TV, but then when you see them from close up, it's scary how skinny these guys are. It's unbelievable. I mean, you have skinny and then you have skinny. I mean, and all the guys are in the front are like, I mean, it's unbelievable. I mean, they must starve themselves off the bike, I think. On the bike, they eat a lot. But I mean, and also,
Johan, I don't agree with that. I think now that they don't, those days of starving yourselves are gone. Like, these guys are so precise with their nutrition that, and many times I'm seeing it with my son, like, he's like, Dad, I still have like to eat 2,000 more calories before I'm able to sufficiently replace my fuel that I burnt on the ride. And I feel like they're not starving themselves, that they're just planning their nutrition a lot better than we ever imagined doing.
It's programmed.
The game has changed.
Right?
Yes, correct.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Anyway, they're entering
and they're riding. They are riding. They're training rides. Or let me just say it another way. Their workloads over the course of a big week is much more than what anybody can see. For the guys in the peloton, which many do, who upload to Strava, you see it. Like, it's or am I off on that?
I think you're a little bit off in terms of being much more. I mean, we did the hours. There's no doubt. I just think they're a lot more precise in the training, a lot more intensity, and a lot more recovery. But the hours, I don't think they're much more than we did.
I just remember those. It's been years now where Froome was putting his rides up on Strava, and he was down in the off season in South Africa. I was just like, this has to be a joke. I mean, he was doing back to back to back, like 8-hour days. I'm like, oh my God. But maybe maybe he was an outlier. Anyways, another thing that I'm glad I do not have to do anymore.
Agreed.
Now, George, on the other hand, my man trains a lot.
No, I did. I rode a lot this weekend at the event.
Please don't say you don't train. Please don't say you don't train. George, you're still a professional cyclist.
Yeah, you look at him. Look at his socials, folks. Give him a follow. George Hincapie on Instagram. Look at the man. And then go back and type in 2004 George Hincapie, some race photos. It's the same guy. It's the same.
Yeah.
I don't know about that, but I have been riding a lot lately for certain trips. But definitely not pro status. Far from.
Well, we digress. So on that note, we'll let y'all go, but we will be back. When are we coming? We're going to, I don't know what we're doing.
World Championships.
We'll be back for the World Championships in Zurich. I'm excited for that. Heads up, weather. I mean, that, in October, Zurich, weather could be, Zurich is tough. I remember those World Cups. That'll be a fun one to watch, fun one to cover too. So,
yeah. Also, we have Pogačar, Remco, and Roglic, plus a bunch of others. Mathieu van der Poel, not Wout van Aert, but I mean, in theory, Pogačar, Remco, and Roglic should be the three big favorites. It's over 4,000 meters of climbing. As today, I saw actually that Pogačar said it's hard, but not super hard. So Mathieu van der Poel does have a chance. I don't know if he says that because he's friends with Mathieu or not, but interesting remark from Pogačar.
And Johan, so I'm clear because I'm just looking at my calendar. The Worlds are September 22nd, or when are they?
No. 20. Is it not 29th? Let me see.
I don't know.
No, definitely not 22nd. That's.
Well, that would be two weeks after the Vuelta. Isn't this hilarious? We should know shit like this, but it's good to know now that we're talking about it.
I think it must be the 22nd.
Feels like it would be. Well, anyways,
road race, elite, September 29th.
29th. Okay. Well, I'll be covering that one, from Europe. FYI.
Oh, wow.
I will not be in Zurich, but nonetheless, it'll be good. Okay. All right, everybody.
All right.
Thanks for tuning in. And hey, congratulations. I mean, look, I think if we all went around the horn and named our three favorite riders, I think there would be some variation in a lot of those names. But I think it's safe to say that Primož Roglič would be in all of our top threes. He's just the guy. We always say it. I mean, dude is easy to cheer for. He's got a chill demeanor. He's had an amazing journey into cycling. And so congratulations to him. Fantastic win. Fourth Tour of Spain. And by the way, not a bunch, but a few people have done that. Who's to say the guy doesn't go back and own the history instead of sharing it?
Yeah.
We shall see. All right, everybody. Thanks for tuning in. See you guys.
Thank you.